That's about 35 minutes, give or take.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hello, I'm Benjamin.
And I'm Jasmine.
We are inner tour guides with black belts in the art of self-awareness and how to live a passionate life.
We love talking with you about what you have and what you want.
More importantly, we want to explore with you how to bridge the gap between that wanting and bring it right back to the having.
So what are your hopes, dreams, and desires?
Is it money, love, success, health, wealth, or something even more specific?
Let us guide you through the exciting adventure of turning what you want into what you have.
Come join in the conversation on our show, The Inner Revolution.
We look forward to exploring with you.
The finder of lost children and missing persons. Monique Lassan. Surveilling civil and criminal investigations. I investigate.
No, I am the chosen one.
Do not underestimate the power of good, and do not dismiss the strength of the child.
Yes, every Wednesday evening on Revolution Radio, come join our very own Eye Investigatrix, Monique Lassan, with her private Eye X-Files.
So you're the finder of lost children?
Private Eye X-Files, every Wednesday from 10 to midnight Eastern, Studio B, on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
I realize it's very hard for you to take in, but it's your destiny to find the golden child.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
wants a challenge. Let's give him one.
The voice that whispers in your ears are the screams that you fear. The mind you cannot defy is the heart that rules mankind. The people who made you are the gods that will save you. I am Steve Travesty. I am the voice. The ghost in the machine. Ghost in the Machine, Tuesdays, 8 p.m., Studio A.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And real quick, I need to get to guests on the line. I didn't want to call them and them start talking to the music, not knowing that there was breakdown music going on. So let me get them on the line now.
Hello?
Hello, Robbie?
Yes.
Hi, this is Roy Solomon from Talk Now Radio. I just want to let you know real quick that we're already live on the air, and I'm fixing to give a call to David right now.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Okay. He should answer any minute.
Hello.
Hello, David.
Yeah. Hey, Royce.
Hey, good to hear from you again. I haven't had you on my show in a long time.
I know. What you been doing? Sleeping?
Actually, I've been doing quite a bit of that up at the VA hospital.
Well, that's not good.
But
I hope you're all right now.
I'm holding stable, but I got a disease that's not curable, so it's going to deteriorate over time. But I'm going to have fun with the radio show in the meantime.
Well, there you go.
And
there you go.
You've introduced me to a new friend now, Robbie, and you two guys have had quite a go-around with a ghost. Is that a ghost or a poltergeist entity that y'all are talking about in Demon Street?
Well, I think it's something quite a bit more than either of those, what it was.
So you think it's perhaps demonic?
Yeah, I mean, that word comes to mind when we try to explain some of the experiences that occurred. Definitely above and beyond your normal haunted situation, for sure.
Well, I know that the stove dancing part, that would be pretty much could be poltergeist. I mean, I've heard of refrigerators lifting up in the air and stuff. But the one thing I've never heard of in poltergeist activity was the floor bubbling up and rolling and knocking people into the air.
Yeah, having a tongue and groove wood floor have waves roll across it. That's something that I had never witnessed at the time either. So, I'd never heard a report of that. Never had anyone say anything remotely like that. And I mean, the stories just go up from there. I mean, it was definitely a different experience for all of us who were involved in it.
Well, I would imagine so. And David here, you really come to my mind, David, because I know so much about you over the years. I know about your scientific approach to, the paranormal and ghost hunting and all of that. And I haven't forgotten about your book, Paranormal Technologies, for example, which I think the people have kind of turned that into their ghost hunting manual now, haven't they, David?
It actually, I'm proud to say that I'm seeing it more and more in people's hands, tattered and torn and dog-eared with highlight marks through it and Post-it notes stuck in it. And to me, that is probably the highest compliment that an author can ever have with his book. So
it is.
Yeah, it's becoming a reference book in the paranormal, and I'm very proud that it has become that. And I'm happy that people are embracing it and they're doing things on their own. They're asking their own questions and they're kicking it up a notch. So, You know, that's what it was all about to write the book in the first place, so people understood exactly what their equipment did and what it meant. And to me, I mean, that's the ultimate compliment right there.
Yeah, I was going to say a minute ago when you was talking about dog-eared and all that, it sounds like the only book I've ever heard of in the world used as much as a Rand's key map.
Yeah. I mean, I have literally had, when I was in Texas last signing books, I had a person come out of the crowd, and they handed me this tattered, worn, wrinkled, folded, mangled book that was mine and wanted me to sign it. And I said, no, you know what? I said, I'm giving you a new one, and I'm going to sign that one. I said, keep that with your equipment, you know. It was just, you know, it makes you feel good to realize that you've touched people's lives in a positive manner.
Oh, yeah, I'm quite sure it does. I use the Rand key map because I used to do deliveries and go out and knock on people's doors when they wouldn't pay their bill and do service calls for rental companies here in Houston, Texas. And we always had a key map up on our dashboard. And, you know, you could tell they were well-used books because they were bleached from the sun's rays shining on them on the dashboard there. The pages were all weathered and dark-looking and crumbly and decay-like and dog-eared all over the place. And, yeah, when you see a book that looks like that, it's definitely one that's used might near on a daily basis, in other words.
Yeah, well, Robbie and I are kind of hoping that Demon Street USA looks like that after a while, too.
Actually, from what I've been able to tell, it's got a good potential to it. But what I was getting at when I was talking about you, David, is I've known about your scientific approach for years. I'm just recently learning about your being a shaman and a medicine man, coyote medicine, I believe you said it was.
It was back then, yeah.
Now, this is surprising to me. I never knew that side of you existed till I read it in your book and saw it on Facebook a few times. But it raises the question in my mind about how do you reconcile the mysticism side of you with the scientific side of you and then incorporate that into your paranormal investigations?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, and we haven't fielded that yet. And I'm glad you brought that up, because there really isn't any conflict in it. They're two different things. It's just like if you had, for example, a physicist who was working on the particle accelerator and also find out that he goes to a Baptist church on Sunday. There's no conflict. One is a matter of belief and spirituality, and the other is a matter of science. And strangely enough, the two are connected. And what's interesting is to take the spirituality or the metaphysical part of it that science has chosen to ignore and explore that scientifically and find out that, gee, yes, there's something to it. For example, I was at the Rhine Research Center a few weeks back, and they are doing experiments with the ultraviolet light emission from human beings when they are in the act of doing healing or martial arts or doing mediumship work. And what they have found so far is that when they establish a base level in a black room, dark room, and the people begin to do their thing, there is a dramatic increase in ultraviolet photon emissions from the human body. And I find that to be pretty incredible, because we've always been told that we're creatures of light, that we're beings of light, and the Rhine Center's working on proving that. So all of a sudden, there's a scientific connection to the metaphysical claims that people are making, and it bears further research. Science needs to take their blinders off and say, gee, let's explore this and find out exactly what's going on, because they are connected. And we're never going to get to the grand theory of everything in physics as long as we keep ignoring these things. So, it's not a reconciliation for me. It is a journey, an adventure, and an exploration. So
they kind of enhance each other if you do it right.
Exactly. And if we study it and we have our controls in place and we can demonstrate that there's something to it, we're going to understand it a whole lot better and find out that it's not paranormal at all. It's actually normal, and we just don't understand it.
Okay. Robbie, I'm going to speak to you here in a minute, but before I do, there's one thing I want to bring up real quick, and that's referring to what he was saying about a connection between mysticism and science. I actually think that the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Sumerians really knew this, and they had a spiritually based science, and this is why they were so far more advanced in some of the things they did, and we still can't do today, because we will not accept the technology that they use as an everyday tool, in other words.
I agree with you 100%. We need to look at the totality of life, not just one little slice of the pie, and judge everything from a slice. We have to look at everything. And we can't ignore something just because it doesn't fit into our cute little explanation of the world. We have to define it. We have to say, oh, well, it's this because of this, this, and this. Otherwise, we are ignoring a tremendous amount of data that could lead to a huge leap forward in both technology and the quality of human life. So, these are things that standard scientists aren't open to because it threatens a certain part of their world, and we can't allow ourselves to hide knowledge from ourselves because it makes us uncomfortable or it doesn't fit into the mold that we have a preconceived notion of.
Which makes a lot of sense. But before we go any further on that one, I don't want to leave Robbie over here unnoticed. So,
in no means, bring him on.
Robbie, tell us, because you're new to me. I'm just meeting you just now. What do you bring to the table?
I bring actually a deep background in shamanism and spiritualism. Buddhism I've studied for many, many years. I'm a Reiki healer, and have a lot of studies in martial arts dealing a lot with chi and that kind of thing. So I bring the real metaphysical side to it.
Actually, it sounds like you both do that.
But it's true, and we bring the scientific side to it too. I actually have an authority on all of the equipment that Dave uses. I'm an AV expert and an entertainment electrician, so I deal with a lot of electricity, a lot of fields and it helps with my skepticism also, because I work in the entertainment industry. I'm fully knowledgeable of what magicians do and what TV does. So as much as I do believe in the paranormal, I'm the skeptic first, because I've seen how we fool the audience, so I know how easy it is.
Dude, I've got to have to get you on here by yourself just to discuss that angle.
You do. Robbie is a wealth of information. We both met in the entertainment field, so we have a lot of very fond memories of learning all these tricks and working with some people like the amazing Kreskin, for example, and he kind of puzzled us both. We still haven't quite figured out how he found his check that night, but we've worked with a lot of magicians. We've worked with different things. Robbie has continued to do so. I left the field about 15, 20 years ago.
So you two go
right Robbie back. Has continued with it. We go way back. We go back to the very early 80s together. And like I say, the whole background of the story occurred when we were in that field. We were working shows. We were working in entertainment industry when it happened.
And this really is it's a historical perspective in a way, because when we went into this, Dave is always pointing out that there were no paranormal investigators. If you were lucky, you had a couple books by Hans Holzer or the Warrens. But we read every book you could possibly find on hauntings and that kind of thing, and that wasn't that difficult because there weren't that many.
That's true. Back then, the concept of paranormal was not nearly as popular. It didn't get popular till the onset of the internet.
Well, the first TV show that really touched on it was a show called In Search Of, and that was in the late 70s. And it went for a couple of seasons, and that was the end of it. And it certainly didn't create the hysteria that occurred, with the new line of information. And it came in waves. In the 80s, we had a TV show called Sightings, which also touched base on it. It was a great show, and it went for, I think, 3 or 4 seasons, actually. And again, it did not spur the public into getting on the bandwagon like they have since, the latest bevy of shows hit the market after the new millennium. It seems like people were very hungry for it, and it caught on because it was brought to the level that everybody could do it. It wasn't intimidating. You could buy a couple of blinky light boxes and you could go out and you could hunt for ghosts. And so it became a very popular trend. And I think there were a lot of social ramifications that fired it, that created it and fed it. But needless to say, its day has come, and now it's this huge popular meme all across America. And that has sprung out its own byproducts, such as, self-proclaimed demonologists and self-proclaimed mediums and psychics and people who read a book and suddenly become an expert on paranormal investigating and start certifying people. I mean, there's a wealth of things that aren't exactly, clean that are going on in the field, as you well know.
I think there are some people in life that have a mindset from early childhood that they just go into something 5 minutes to an hour and they're experts, no matter what it is. Because I've seen people that like exactly that as children.
That's true. And the thing is that if you keep reading books and you keep doing, you actually will become an expert.
You realize you're not one, you start to be one.
You start to be one when you realize you're not. That's when you first start becoming an expert, is when you realize you're not one. That's the first step to becoming one,
Yeah, the one thing that truly trumps that, too, is experience. You can read all you
Absolutely.
Want. Things you'll never understand until you've walked in those shoes.
Yeah,
exactly. You can read about being a shaman. You won't become one until you've actually walked the path and experienced it. Because there's some things that you do that you can't read about because there's no words for it.
Well,
you have to experience it.
Not only that, but what you read about, you have a tendency to forget sooner than what you actually act out.
Yeah, you never forget what you experience. Well, I will say that with a caveat to it, because when you experience something like we did, you can shut it out of your brain. And that's literally what I did after the fact. After all the events in the book took place, I literally buried it and turned my back on it. And it literally made me stop being a shaman. I stopped practicing for 27 years.
Well, where did this take place at?
Gainesville, Florida.
Robbie?
Okay, it was Florida.
Yes.
I thought I remembered reading Florida, and while you guys are waiting for me to call, I mentioned to the listeners that I thought it was Florida. But y'all might want to correct me on that, but no, I guess I was right.
No, you were right. It was in Gainesville, Florida, home of the Go Gators.
Well,
I was actually working at the University of Florida at the time. So Gainesville is a wonderful town. It's rich in culture. It's got everything any big city in the Northeast has, including crazy places to go and have weird experiences.
Yeah, it sounds like it, especially from the house you went to. So, did y'all ever manage to get rid of what was haunting the house?
We can put it this way without ruining the book.
Okay.
We're both still alive and talking to you.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Well, I guess y'all know by now, since I said that I didn't get to finish the book yet.
Well, we don't want to spoil it for you.
I got to be honest with you. I didn't get the book. It didn't arrive here. Didn't deliver till about 2 or 3 days ago, and I was already mountain behind of about 8 books to begin with. So I read what I could at the last minute, pretty much.
Well, what's amazing, and the publisher did this on their own. The book wasn't scheduled for release until the 25th of August. Amazon started delivering books a couple of days ago, and we've already gotten our first review. Robbie just found our first review today. So we were kind of surprised and at the same time pleased that the publisher did this, because there's a lot of people that have been patiently waiting for this book to come out.
Yeah, while you're talking about that, David, I'd like to mention to all the listeners out there, if anybody chooses to buy this book, Demon Street, first off, go to Talk Now Radio and click on the archives there. You'll see a link to it at Amazon. I get a commission on that, and it helps keep me on the air and keep me censorship-free from sponsors. But aside from that, when you get over to Amazon and buy it, read the book, you like it, go over to Amazon again and leave the folks a review. It really does help these authors, because I know that I've left reviews on several books, and I've gotten several emails from Amazon on these books showing that, let me know that it helped people to buy the book because they read my review, in other words. So you do help authors out just by giving them a good reference. Word of mouth is a great form of advertising, and right now I think I've done 50 reviews, out of which 37 have bought a book.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're every author's friend.
Well, I don't know how that happened.
You know, there's so many people out there. You know, we all make enemies along our path in life. I have quite a few. They pride themselves in giving you a bad review, regardless, even though they haven't even probably read the book, and they're just doing it on a personal vendetta. So when you do find people that are honest and upright, and they read the book and they enjoy it and they share that, it really helps to negate all of those negative comments from the trolls out there. So we do appreciate that. And in our first review, it was kind of funny because they touched base on something Robbie and I have discussed intimately with each other over and over again, is people are dubious as to the reality of the story. And I just want to say to us and to the other individuals that were involved in it, it was very real. And even if you don't believe that it's real, read the story. It's a good story.
Well, David, I got to tell you, it's what you just said. Had I read what I read about the dancing stove and the waves in the floor, I would have doubted it from many authors. I really would have. The only thing that really made a difference is that I've known you for years. I've always known you to be a sincere and an honest person, and I could not possibly imagine you making up something, especially in this field, because I know for a fact that it's highly important to you to make a connection scientifically to the supernatural, and you would never do anything to, I guess, decimate that, harm that, desire in any way, shape, or form, in other words, like making things up.
Well, this is exactly why this book was not written in 1985 after it happened. Actually, there were several reasons, and Robbie and I discussed it after the fact that one day we were going to have to write this book, just because it was so mind-blowing to us, having lived through it, that we knew that it would be something to share with other people and people would connect with in their own way. But the time wasn't right. And it took all this time for the time to be right, for the mood of the country to be right, for people to be educated and experienced enough for it to be right, so that they would be able to relate to aspects of the book. And Robbie and I knew that we're going to have people that are going to say, oh, it's all bullshit, it's all fake, And that's fine. People can make up their own minds about that. But they're also are going to still read the book because it's a good story. And to me, if you take something away from it, whether you believe it's true or not, and it helps you in some way, then the book has served its purpose.
I don't care if it's a totally work of fiction. If it's got something useful in it, even a work of fiction has entertainment. That's useful.
Well, we tried to make sure we tried to make sure it was entertaining. And for the people that really know Dave, this is the seed volume. This is the reason why he is so impeccable in his scientific approach, because these things had such an impact on us that he wants to prove it, and he wants to prove it scientifically, so all of the doubters can look and go, wow, there's the data. What can we say now? And I think for those that know David, it might come as a surprise, his background, but when they realize that this is the catalyst for his work, it's a really interesting volume.
Well, also, I have actually seen picture of David sitting by his equipment, and he's got a vast array of high-class technological equipment to help him, be able to discern paranormal phenomena that few people have. And if people ever saw that picture, I'm pretty sure they would get an idea.
Reminds you of a young Tesla, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny you draw that parallel, but really, Royce, you need to ask Robbie about his personal experiences, because Robbie came into this really a novice into the situation, was always interested in it, but this was really Robbie's loss of virginity in the paranormal field.
Gotta love your terminology.
and it was a rough first time, let me tell you what.
There was no grease. There was no grease. But his experiences, I can't even tell you, even though I helped set him up, I can't tell you what had to have gone through his mind in some of the situations I put him in, training him and passing on the knowledge I had to him, because I knew that if he didn't learn, that his life was in peril. And both of our lives were in peril, but at the time I knew that I could at least hold my own, but he needed to know he could. And part of the book is all about his growth spiritually and his development into a full-fledged shaman.
This you are a full-fledged one now, Robbie?
What's that?
You are a full-fledged shaman now?
Oh, absolutely. That's the path I walk. It's the path that I've walked since Dave kicked me onto it. Or we'll say Spirit kicked me onto it. Dave was just the loving guide.
I was just a facilitator.
Dave was moved by the Spirit, as the church would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing about the book is it's written in an onion kind of way. There's so many layers to it. There's the layer of just what's on top, which is absolutely mind-blowing and terrifying. And then there's the depths into it that we really got to. What do you do when you're faced with this situation and you have to learn all the things you do to deal with it? There's a great deal of knowledge and learning in this. And a little bit of a warning, too, because all of the new groups, they're all going into these places. They're all using the demon word, and there's things out there that you can really tick off, and they will follow you home, and they will make your life miserable. And but back when we were doing this, unfortunately, we didn't have that kind of thing to fall back on. It was falling back on Dave's knowledge and our research. It was very interesting.
Yeah, see, the thing is there was no manual on how to deal with it. This thing did not respond to any standard Christian, banishments. It did not. It actually would intimidate any type of Christian banishment that was thrown against it. So there was no rules. There was no book. There was no knowledge. We had to take a very unorthodox path of research to learn how to eventually deal with what we were dealing with, and even then it was a crapshoot. And I think that is probably the best knowledge-based part of the book, was the fact that, you can learn everything you can learn, and then sometimes you just have to leap off the cliff and have faith in what you know.
That is true.
That's some scary terminology, especially if you get a visualization.
Well, that's about how it was.
The perfect parallel on this is, I believe it was the Indiana Jones and the Grail, where he had to step off of the cliff, and the path was there. Took that
step of faith, leap of faith, and the bridge appeared and he took the step.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Of course, that would have been funny if he fell, too.
Yeah, well, the only thing that kept us alive and going through the whole process was our humor. And we put that humor in the book because it was very important. Because if we hadn't have had the ability to joke about being scared to death, we probably would have been scared to death. And that's the thing. There was moments of raw fear. Literally raw fear. And, the only way to put it into perspective was to laugh about it and joke about it.
In fact, my wife still talks about us coming in after something happening, just dead white and shaking. But we were just laughing about it. She still rolls her eyes when she talks about it, because it was almost a daily occurrence. Something would happen, and we'd come in shaking and white and laughing our butts off.
Bringing home brownies for dessert.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's how we survived, was the fact that we were able to counteract it with our humor. And to this day, I will swear on a stack of whatever religious book you want to place in front of me that our survival was based on our sense of humor.
That's an interesting concept. I never heard that one before. I was going to mention, though, that I read a book by Michael Clarkson called Paranormal Phenomena, and in this here he discussed poltergeist activity, and he learned that it seemed like in many cases of activity, young adolescents or early adults were always present when furniture was being lifted off the ground and levitated, or refrigerators or whatever it was. And I wonder if you had, any, input you could add onto that, because obviously, like I say, this did not include the waves in the floor. Could the house have been haunted by more than one thing, you think, or?
Well, here,
absolutely,
this is one of my favorite subjects, Dave. Go
ahead, buddy.
One of the difficulties that we're having right now in the paranormal world is the categorization of the hauntings. We have three categories. We have poltergeists, we have residual hauntings, and then we have the active spirits. But the thing is there's so much more. That's just, it's like karate or kung fu. Kung fu is only a generic term that covers so many different specific styles. And ghosts and entities is the same thing. We were dealing with something that was able to move things, was able to manipulate the environment, but it was in no way, shape, or form a poltergeist.
No. Manipulate the environment?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Can you tell us a little something about that? You got my attention. Or would I be giving away too much of the book?
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
I mean, just the dancing stove and the floor was just part of that kind of thing. I mean, we watched windows open, watched doors close.
Yeah, I mean, a jealousy window, take this. We sat and watched a jealousy window open without the crank turning. And I was so blown away, I said, oh, the crank's got to be broken and disengaged. And I reached forward and took the crank and actually closed the window, and it worked. So we witnessed something that defied physics.
Did y'all get to record any of this stuff or catch it on film any kind of way?
This was way before any of that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This was in 1985. The recorders that I was using in those days to record EVP was a modified TAC A4010S because it had the best quality of recording, because cassettes had just come out not too long before that, and cassette quality was just starting to get to where the lowest setting on a reel-to-reel was quality-wise because of the speed of the tape going through the mechanism. So I was still using a reel-to-reel recorder to look for EVP back in those days, even though technology had increased to cassettes at the time. This was before digital, really. It was before we could afford any kind of digital audio. Digital audio did start occurring, but it was way, way expensive and out of our reach budgetarily to buy anything like that. So this was pre-technology to be able to walk around with a camera. I mean, portable cameras back in those days were like a big VHS rig with a strapped recorder that hung separately off to the side that carried the tape in, because the camera was separate from the actual tape recorder. So you literally carried a portable tape recorder for the VHS tape, and then the camera was separate. I mean, cameras were starting to come out with the tape built on board, but these cameras were huge. I mean, they were big. They're not like they are now where
like
they fit the palm of your hand.
Newscaster cameras.
Yeah, they were the size of what you
got all
see.
the good toys.
Yeah. I mean, a camera back then, even home cameras, were very large. They were as large as professional production cameras are today. So, I mean, it wasn't like we walked around with VHS cameras recording stuff because, I mean, that wasn't what we were there to do. We were there to help someone who had, it wasn't an investigation, it was a spiritual rescue mission is what it started out to be.
Although, you know, Royce, I have to admit our first trip there was more of a lark. It was boy, they got a haunted house. Hey, you want to go check it out? And
at least you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, only to find out that we were going to change our lives immensely.
You know, that reminds me of my birthday when I first met my wife. She threw a big party, had her brother over. I had my brother-in-law over. My dad had just asked me to keep his dog for him. It was a big old dog, and it had a bad attitude. Every time he would leave it with somebody, they'd go to feed it. They would try to bark at him and bite him, and nobody would keep the dog but me, in other words. And I got that dog out of that habit for the most part. And we went outside to show everybody the dog, and that dog is chopped up on me, letting me pet him, trying to lick me. And my brother-in-law, James, says, that dog don't look so bad to me, until my wife's brother, Frank, reached over to pet him, and the dog goes, rawr! And then all of a sudden, James like, keep that dog away from me. But, yeah, in theory, it sounds kind of like y'all. When you first got there, it don't look so bad until you actually, saw the proof, in other words.
That's a correct assessment.
Yeah, funny you should mention dog.
Was there a dog involved?
We had a little doggy involved in our escapade, yeah.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. Well, let me let Robbie explain it, because he experienced it like up close and personal.
Okay, go ahead, Robbie.
I'm not necessarily sure that it was ever alive per se.
Okay, you got my interest.
A lot of times when you're dealing with these really negative entities, they try to manifest as what will scare you the most. And there were several times where this thing just appeared to me as a dog. It wasn't the one that you'd want to reach out and pet, but as a canine. That's how it always appeared to me, and it appeared to other people in different ways. Because I think it tried to, that's the one thing about this kind of entities, it likes to get into your psyche and figure out what freaks you out the most and throw it back at you.
Well, you just reminded me when you said other people saw it, it appeared as different things to other people, that I think I remember reading in the media kit with your book that it was seen, this entity or whatever it was seen or witnessed by thousands of people at a theater or something, or I don't have that in front of me. I might be mixing something up, but I might be getting close enough. You know the part I'm talking about.
No, but that was the thing that also kept our sanity, is that this thing was being experienced by a lot of different people at a lot of different times. We never
in a lot of different places.
In a lot of
different places.
But we always had confirmation. It was never like I saw something and then somebody else. It was like three people would see the same thing and go, "Ooh, that's different," and it kept going like that. We never had a huge group, but there were groups of up to 20 that saw it.
The sad thing about it is in writing the book, we have lost touch with many of the people who were involved in it, and so we used, assumed names for those people, because we weren't able to contact them and get permission to use their names, that sort of thing. And what we're hoping is...
You're breaking up, David.
He's breaking up. I can finish it for him, though. What we're really hoping is that those people will come out and go, hey, your memory wasn't quite right. And we would love to get everybody's point of view, because, that's the thing. While we all agree with the consensus reality, we all live in our own separate realities. And I would love to get back in touch with some of the people involved and find out what they experienced and how it has affected their lives in the long run.
Okay, I'm looking to see. It looks like David was disconnected. Are you still there, Robbie?
Oh, I'm still here. Yeah, he's driving through the mountains right now, so there was a good chance that he was going to drop off. That's
okay.
Not a problem. We'll keep going.
I just wondered if I should try to call him back, but if he's in the mountains, it probably may not work.
Or you can give him a shot. Depending, he's on the East Coast, so he should be fairly in a saturated area. Not like where I live.
Where do you live?
I live in Washoe Valley, Nevada.
Oh, you're kind of like in the opposite direction.
Oh, absolutely. When you were talking about the well-worn maps, I have a Nevada atlas that's like that. Has every dirt road out in the desert, and it's worn and torn and stained.
Well, I was going to mention to you later on after the show about maybe having you come on to another show by yourself sometime in October.
I would love to do that.
Because I never had a chance to, give you a solo. Solo, nobody can hear you. No, that's not what I meant. They used to tell me that about singing when I was a kid, so I just had to throw it in there.
Oh, that one I understand. I apologized to my neighbor for my singing, and she said, I haven't heard any singing coming from your yard.
Yeah, it made you wonder how to take that one, didn't it?
No, I know better.
Hello. Sorry
okay,
about that. I'm in the mountains. I'm in the mountains, and I lost all my signal, so.
Okay, well, listen, we got like 20 minutes left in the show, so if it happens again, you want me and Robbie to just finish it out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just happy to be here.
Okay, well, I'm happy to have you here, and especially after I confused everything like I did. But I don't want to waste the last 20 minutes talking about my mistakes, especially since I don't like to brag about them. But while we're at it, let's talk about some of the other things that people are going to see in the book. Now, we're talking about a book that you probably don't want to read right before they go to bed. Am I right?
Well, that's actually the best comment we've had so far is a friend of mine, after he got done proofing it for me, said, I had to read Stephen King after I read this so I could fall asleep.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Stephen King, we all know what his books are like.
Yeah, and I don't mean to compare us to Stephen King by any means, but Stephen King tends to write subtle horror, and our horror is pretty much in your face, pretty much like it was for us. So
the thing about
what we tried to do was to bring the reader into our shoes.
Uh-huh.
And I think we did a pretty fair job of doing that.
I'm pretty sure you did. And I was going to say, though, one of the things you want to look at is Stephen King wrote novels. You're writing an actual experience, so that should make a lot of difference in itself.
Made it a lot easier.
You can't make this stuff up, let me tell you. There's some seeds in here that you're going to read and go, oh, my God, how did they think that up? We didn't. You can't think it up. I mean, it had to happen. And I think when you read that, you're going to read parts that you're going to say are just, how did they make this up? These people are either so twisted or convoluted, and that's just not the case. I mean, we couldn't have made this stuff up. There's no way.
Of course, that's part of the reason why we waited so long to write it. If we had tried to put this out in 1985...
Oh, my God, we'd be in the middle of war somewhere. Yeah.
That's a good possibility. I got to ask you, though, David, did this in any way influence your later work and experiments and, trying to, get the scientific end of it?
Absolutely it did. It like threw logs of lighter knots on the fire is what it did. When you experience something you can't explain, not even remotely, and you try to look into science to find an answer, and no one's going to help you with that, you have to blaze a trail yourself. You have to try to figure out what is going on. Because I'm a firm believer that whatever we're dealing with has got to follow the laws of physics, and or we wouldn't experience it. And bearing on that note and the experiences that we had, that's really what put me into a feverish pitch to try to understand it and to try to forget it at the same time.
Probably never will forget it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's amazing how much you can bury and hide under the carpet for a long time until it kind of comes up and you trip over the lump in the carpet. And that's kind of what happened. So, and it all came back out. I ended up getting back on the path. We sort of went full circle. Robbie sort of started reminding me of the lessons that I had taught him years ago, and you know, the sequel is going to be very interesting because we're going to touch base on a lot of what went into writing the book and how the book was actually written and the publishing process and the things that happened there, because the story hasn't stopped. The story has continued on. And we already have enough material for at least 4 more sequels.
Oh, so now I know what to expect from you.
And it hasn't stopped. So there is going to be more of the story to unfold as time goes on. And we have no idea how it's going to end, because it hasn't ended yet.
Okay.
And it's just different. It's just different now. I mean, it's different in that we're used to it, which is a sick, sad thing to say, but we're sort of used to what happens now. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you if you guys feel better prepared to handle it now that you've had time to study the phenomena than you felt back then. But when you said we're used to it, it kind of answered that question.
Yeah, well, we've grown. We have grown. We have developed. We have kept learning. We have kept experiencing, and we have kept taking things away from what we've learned and gotten stronger spiritually and knowledgeably. So, you know, we have continued to deal with it because we have continued to grow to deal with it. And I think that what's incredible now is that there are different people involved now. More people have witnessed these effects, and we are in touch with them, and I'm sure that they will come forward and say things about stuff, or maybe even write their own books about it. So it's creating a situation where a lot of people have had personal stories getting involved in our personal story, and we are in touch with them, and they are all about it. They are part of a circle of friends that we have that are very much involved in what's going on now and what's been going on for several years now. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of the mix, because I anticipate some of them being involved in their own writing projects about their own personal experiences from it.
So you guys plan to go back to Florida and investigate some more?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm trying to move
ourselves to Florida, so.
Yeah, we're not limiting ourselves. Yeah, we're not limiting ourselves to any geographical region. That's for sure, because things can be found all over the country, as will be unfolded in future books. So,
how can you afford to go around the whole country, though? That's an expensive process.
Well, it is, but then you see, I travel a lot speaking, and I travel a lot working on, you know, I'm working on a TV project that I'm traveling around a lot with, and there's stories involved around those travels. And Robbie was involved in it, you know, other people close to us was involved in it. So this is going to be a fixture of stories for some time to come.
So in all essence, we might see you and Robbie and a few others on the History Channel on you know, like a Paranormal State type of show or something like that somewhere down the road.
I'm not discounting any of that. I mean, I'm currently under contract on another project right now, but, you know, there's no end to what could happen. I could see it becoming a movie. I could see it becoming a lot of things. And right now we're open to all paths. I mean, you know, we're letting it. We believe that what we wrote is something that everyone who is interested in the field minimally should read. And even people that aren't interested in the field and just want a good spooky story to read, they should read it. And we believe it will touch people's lives. We believe people will make connections with parts of it. We believe it will empower people to deal with things on their own if they find the need to, and at least know how to seek people out to help. So it's more of a labor of
passion.
Twistedly saying this, it's more of a labor of love for the human race, to share the knowledge that we learned and have people do with it as they will.
Okay. Well, listen, we've only got like probably 2 or 3 minutes remaining before they cut me off, and I plumb smooth forgot while I was enjoying talking to you guys to have you mention your website. So why don't y'all slide that in real quick?
The book site. Just give them the book site, and they can Google us for our Facebook pages if they need to. We're under our names.
That's true. The book site is www.demonstreetusa.com.
I didn't even check for that, and I should have. I usually would. I don't know where my mind's been. I'll be honest with you.
It just became viable recently due to the help of our good friend Jim Mallard, who is helping us behind the scenes with a lot of work. As you well know, this has become an insurmountable amount of work all of a sudden, dumped on two people that have an insurmountable amount of work normally. So we've got friends that are helping us, and Jim's been a big help. He has been working behind the scenes to help us with our infrastructure, and I just want to recognize him publicly for doing that.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Now, as you probably already know about me, David, know me as long as you have, I'm always surfing the web looking for interesting people doing interesting things and keeping on top of the newest book market and stuff like that. So I pretty well imagine I'll know when your next book comes out before it comes out, and I'll be in touch like I was this time.
Yeah, we are real good about teasing the public with it ahead of time. We started talking about this almost a year ago, and we just slowly started easing into it. And then I guess around last October, we started really coming out and hitting it and saying more and more about it. And then we've been doing interviews with it for what, Robbie, about 3 or 4 months now?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, I got to tell you, from what I've read of it so far, it does look like it's a very promising book. And hopefully by the time I see you two again in September on my show, I'll have the rest of it read, and I'll have even more questions ready to ask you and more things to discuss.
Absolutely. That's why we're trying to do this now and accommodate you, even though you did screw up. So.
Although you don't mind reminding me it was my mix-up.
Well, what if
I really did. I did. I double-booked by mistake.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. We were fortunately able to do something with it. Yeah, we were fortunately able to do it. So, I mean, I'm driving through the mountains, careening down a mountainside in Tennessee right now, but we were still able to do it. So I'm glad we could.
Actually, there's a Cherokee tribe over by the mountains in Tennessee on the other side going toward North Carolina. You might be heading there.
Not very far from there, actually. I'm north of Knoxville, about to enter into Virginia. So I'm 101 miles south of Roanoke, so I'm not far from Asheville. In fact, the Asheville exit passed by me about a half hour into our interview. So, I'm in the heart of Cherokee country right now. That's for sure.
All righty. Well, then in that case, I'm going to hope you get to your destination in one piece. And I've invited Robbie. I haven't given him a date yet to come back and talk to me on a solo show, so we can go down to his experiences even more deeply. I'm going to let you guys go with that one there. David, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You've always been a great guest, and I know you and me are going to stay in touch for future shows.
Thanks a lot for having us, really.
Thank you for coming. I really do appreciate that. Robbie, thank you. It's been a real pleasure meeting you, and I think it's going to be the start of a long friendship. I can't go any further because I just heard the noise, and the break music is fixing to interrupt me. So with that, I want to say goodbye. You guys have a nice day, and I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Roy.
Bye-bye, listeners. We'll see you later.
Revolution Radio.
These guys are hammers. And to hammers, everything looks like nails.
I heard that.
You were meant to. So you see something that's important, you call it out, and we'll make it happen.
Okay. Mother Nature is a serial killer. No one's better, more creative. Like all serial killers, she can't help the urge to want to get caught. What good are all those brilliant crimes if no one takes the credit? So she leaves crumbs. Now the hard part is seeing the crumbs for the clues they are. Sometimes the thing you thought was the most brutal aspect turns out to be the chink in its armor. And she loves disguising her weaknesses as strengths.
If you can fight, fight.
Head north if you can. Hello? Is there anyone out there hearing this?
Help each other.
Mexico City has been declared